Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Donathan Brown, the Assistant Provost and Assistant Vice President for Faculty Diversity and Recruitment here at the Rochester Institute of Technology. Thank you very much for joining me in our inaugural Fireside Chat series. These conversations with some of our star faculty members are designed to provide you with a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life as a faculty member here at RIT, life as a community member within the greater Rochester community, along with providing you both useful insight and advice. Today I'm joined by one of our star faculty members from the Center for International Outreach at the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, Professor Tommy Sarchet. So without further delay, let's begin. Professor Tommy, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, such as where you attended school, your research interests, or anything else you'd like to share.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy. I work here at NTID, the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. I've worked at RIT for approximately 17 years now in various different roles during my time here. My background is I got a bachelor's in biology and then went on to get a master's in deaf education. Now I'm working on finishing my PhD, focusing on teaching and curriculum. My specific research interests focus particularly on education and empowering different people in how to collaborate and partner with educational systems in different countries in order to improve deaf education in those countries. My research in NTID is really twofold. I'm working on two projects right now. Last year, we established a program called STP. This is a summer education transition program. The program is specifically for first-year incoming students in NTID, really to provide support for their transition into college life, focusing primarily on their English and ASL skills, as well as soft skills that they will need in college as well, such as independence, self-advocacy, and also just adjusting to being away from home and away from their parents for possibly the first time. Another focus area of my research starts with beginning community books. Or excuse me, it's called It Starts With Books. Under the USAID program, we focus on designing stories in ASL in specific countries' sign language. And so we modify in order to use their sign language to tell children's stories. Right now, we are using Filipino sign language, as well as Tagalog sign language. And so we primarily focus on kindergarten through 5th grade in developing stories for elementary school students. We talk about designing those stories and really focusing on deaf people and their experiences during COVID in order to teach children about how to avoid becoming ill. It's been a really cool, awesome program. We've focused on different types of software and who has access to that software, who can use it. We want to make it easy to download from the cloud. So let's just say there's a child who lives in a rural community without much internet access. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to download these stories and access them, even if they have limited opportunities to use the internet. And so those are my focuses right now.
Oh. Wow. You've said a lot. You have a lot going on, to say the least. Wow. Okay, well, let me ask you this. You are perhaps the best person to answer this question. You've been in Rochester for 17 years. And so let me ask you, can you share with us some of the people, places, and events you enjoy the most within the Rochester community?
Sure, and I will turn it over to the interpreter right now to sign for me.
So I wanted to start the interview first by signing because I wanted to emphasize the importance of respecting my deaf and hard of hearing colleagues. And one of the things I want to start with related to the city of Rochester is that we have the largest per capita deaf and hard of hearing population in the United States. So I think one of the coolest things about living in Rochester is not only the cultural sites, the museums, there's tons of restaurants, and all of those really fun entertainment type things, but also it's a really unique experience because pretty much anywhere you go, you will encounter deaf and hard of hearing people. And many of the local businesses and companies, employees learn to sign. And so it's not surprising to encounter someone who's either deaf or someone who knows how to sign here in Rochester. I think it's hard to say what my favorite things are. I think one of my favorite things is the Lilac Festival. It is a Rochester festival that's been going on for over 100 years, held at Highland Park. And every year when the lilacs are anticipated to bloom, they have this huge 2-week festival, and it's very family oriented. All day music and eating, and local craftsmen and artisans bring exhibits and you can buy things. My husband and I got married there in Highland Park. So it's a very special place to me. And then I think another thing I love is the Rochester Public Market. If you're interested in really the kind of farm to table or supporting local farms and local bakeries, there are so many options there, and it's open every weekend. And again, it's a Rochester institution that's been around for over 100 years, and they are open come the snow, which I probably shouldn't say, as well as the summer. And so there's seasonal things like fresh flowers and fruits and vegetables, but in the winter, there's also decorative items for the winter time, hot chocolate, all the things that really make it feel like Rochester. So those are probably two of my favorite things. And last, I'll say real quick, I love the parks. We have a lot of trails and parks to experience if you want to be close to nature or run or bike. Or in the winter time, snowboarding, all those kinds of things. And I also love the canal, the Erie Canal, which goes through many of our towns and villages in the area. And there's just a lot to see. So I love being outdoors, and I think Rochester is a great place for that.
Thank you. I mean, I think your response is certainly thorough. And I'm wondering if you have a night job as a realtor, given how much information you know about the area. So, no, that's fantastic. And so I think, as people listen to you today and they think about a lot of, with regards to what you're saying, give us a little bit of advice. Think back as to where you began your academic journey. If you had to offer one piece of advice for those who are on the job market or soon will be, what would that piece of advice be?
That's a great question. I thought a lot about that. I think, so for me, I got into deaf education accidentally. And I think if you ask most people in our field, they would tell you that. And I start with that because I think that's one way in which people in the job market can start pursuing an avenue they may not have anticipated. And briefly, I'll tell you that I actually got into deaf education because of my bachelor's degree in biology, I was really good with statistics. And so I got hired as a research assistant, not because I knew anything about deaf people or I knew a little bit of sign language because I studied at RIT, but it was really actually my skills with statistics that got me that opportunity. And then from there, changed the complete trajectory of my whole career. I thought I was going to be a cancer researcher originally. And so now I'm in charge of international projects related to deaf education. And so all of that is to say, I think if you think creatively about your skill set and you have a diverse skill set, don't necessarily focus on what your major is or what your degree is in, but think about other skills and experience you have. Pretty much every job that I have gotten was not because of my degree per se or my specific discipline, but because I always pursued other trainings and developed skills. And then someone would say, well, we want, somebody who can do all these things, and I could meet the criteria. And they're like, well, we can't find anybody who can do this. And it was like, oh, by the way, I can do this. And my actual last position before I took on my current role, the late Dr. James D. DeCaro, who is actually really one of the giants in international deaf education, when I interviewed with him, I already had all these years of experience in work. And he said, you're really one of my top candidates, but we really want to know somebody who has C-print captioning training, which was one of the access services we use. Well, it just so happened that one of my previous jobs was as a C-print captionist, go figure. And so despite the fact that I was competing against other people who had just as much experience, and I had no international experience at all at that time, I ended up becoming the top candidate because of that, random job that I had had years before. So again, I think really my advice is just look back at your career. All of your experiences really bring you to where you're headed. And anything that my mother always says, nothing you learn is ever wasted. And you always need to have a marketable skill. So I've always tried, regardless of whatever position I have, to make sure that I continue to upgrade my skills, stay current, and sometimes just do something completely different because it ends up serving you well somewhere in the future.
No, that's fantastic. Nothing that you ever learn is wasted knowledge or wasted space. I think that's something many of us should always keep in the back of our minds. So let's think for a moment. You've talked about yourself and gave us a very good understanding as to where you come from, your areas of interest and research. You've sold us on the greater Rochester community with all puns intended, and you provide useful insight and advice for those who are on the job market or soon will be. My final question is this. As prospective faculty members really consider RIT and NTID as their future home, can you share with us perhaps 2 things you enjoy the most about being a member of the family?
That's difficult, in a good way. There's so many things. I would say, my experience, and I haven't worked at a lot of universities, but I do have some experience with others. I want to say that RIT and NTID are people first. We are not perfect by any stretch. There's definitely work and improvement to be had. But I do think that because I think as a community, we come from a lot of different backgrounds and we have such a diverse academic portfolio that people are really warm and care. And so sometimes it's a little difficult because we're a big university to get connected, but there are people that care and we want to see you here. We want you to be successful. And so I think, don't think of RIT as just another technical university. I think we do set ourselves apart in that way. I also appreciate, again, for my own career, the diversity of opportunities that I have. I won't go through my entire resume, but I used to be a custodian as a student employee. And now I'm in the president's office within the College of NTID. And I think that just speaks to the fact that being in higher education, you often get exposed to different things and different opportunities. And so if you come here, there's a lot of different ways you can connect with people. There's a lot of opportunities for multidisciplinary research. And also, again, I can't emphasize enough the uniqueness of having NTID as a part of the university, which has launched several new avenues of research and scholarship and innovative teaching and curriculum development that you probably can't get anywhere else. And so I encourage, prospective faculty, regardless of your discipline, to really consider RIT as your home.
Wow. Now that's fantastic. Again, a lot to consider as many young individuals consider what their next step is after their graduate degree program. So I think you've provided a lot of food for thought. So thank you for that. You've highlighted many great things, and you provided us with a lot to think about and a lot for individuals to look into, which is always a beautiful thing. So let me just say this. It's been a pleasure, first and foremost. But as you know, all good things come to an end, including this conversation for the time being. So I have to ask, so you care to join us in closing us out?
Sure thing. My name is Thomastine Sarchet, and I work as an associate professor here at the NTID at RIT. And I'm an RIT professor.
All right. Thank you very much.